Welcome to this new episode of Lucky Last. Today I'm joined by Todd Liubinskas, CEO of YOHKA, a new high-energy obstacle racing and fitness sport. Todd, you are the founder of multiple fitness studios and businesses. You used to be the fitness director at Men Health, and you've been living and breathing movement since you were a kid, pretty much. You are all about performance, but with purpose. And today we will talk about this new fitness sport, YOHKA, but I want as well to talk about ambition, failure, mindset, and how to build something meaningful without burning out. Todd, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. So let's start with the beginning. I mentioned it that you started sport very early. You were with your dad since you are 5 years old. Can you tell me a bit more about it?
Yeah, well, my mum was actually an aerobics instructor and teacher, and my dad was a football player. So I think from the time I could walk, I was always either with my mum in the classroom or at the back of a gym, and she was, teaching aerobics, and at that time it was step aerobics. So I'd be picking up weights and going around when I was really little, and my dad was a part of that as well. Dad would go off and train, mum would go off and work, and from when I could remember, 4 to 5 years old, my dad used to train at, well, he still does, at Palm Beach. Okay. So there's a gentleman up there called Rob Roland Smith. He's known as the Sandhill Warrior because he would train at the Sandhills on Palm Beach every single Sunday. Okay. Rain, hail, shine, without fail, he'd turn up. And that was normal for me. Like Dad would wake me up, 6 a.m. most Sunday mornings, and we'd drive straight up to Palm Beach from Concord. So it was about an hour drive. So I'd have my pillow in the back, I'd be sleeping, and then I'd get out there and Dad would be training, and I'd be around these, professional athletes, surfers, rugby league players, high-performing sports people, and they'd be carrying logs up, up and down sandhills. I thought that was normal because I grew up with it. So for me, a Sunday for me was getting up early and training. And it's funny, when I got older and I didn't do that, I felt out of sorts. So like normally when you, 16, 17, 18, you go out, you have a few drinks and whatever. I was getting up hungover and going up and training and doing all that stuff because I was used to it, right? And it got me normalized to the fact of getting up and doing that stuff and, hard work. And I think from my mum's influence too, mum was always, you can't be sick, you got to get up and go to school. It's not that bad. So when I was really sick, I got really sick. So I'd always take days off or whatever, but it was very, very rare that would happen. I think at an early age, I was accustomed to training like that, hard work, and yeah.
And strong mindset, I guess, as well.
Well, yeah, it's strong mindset, but not knowing that I had a strong mindset.
Absolutely. For you, it was a day-to-day.
It was
business as usual.
Correct. It was just one of those things. Like you fall over, hurt yourself, get up, let's go, keep going, yeah.
And now you are the CEO of YOHKA, this new fitness racing sport.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about it?
The founders saw a gap in the market in terms of fitness racing, but also how do you combine obstacle racing, something to do with like a high rocks component, CrossFit, and how do you bring all that together to create almost like a fan zone of a spectator sport, but also mass participation. And so now we've got a really strong opportunity to come into the market. We've got a 100-meter course, and that 100-meter course sits in the modern pentathlon for LA 28. Okay. So we've got the format to actually produce that across the rest of the country and give a platform for young modern pentathletes to come and train. And then there's also a parkour element, which was born in France, parkour, the strong components of street running and different components of style and speed. So there's an element of a tag game, which is a quad 12 by 12 setup. And in the middle of that quad, there's all these different obstacles. So if you're in, you've got to try and tag me for 20 seconds. I've got to try and run away from you. Okay. So that's two components of it. And then the other component is our mass participation, which we call our classic and our challenge elements, which could be a 5K race or it could be a 7K race with some other elements in it. So yeah, it's exciting, trying to build the brand, educate the market, highlight the athletes in the sport, because up until now they haven't had a chance to come out there and be in front of the media or anything like that. So we're trying to really elevate the athletes. So yeah, it's exciting. It's cool.
This fitness racing is definitely booming. So I think there is definitely a market for it. When I see Hyrox, like Hyrox is incredible, like worldwide, an event where like thousands of people are going every year. I'm doing my first Hyrox in July.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yes.
How's it going? How's the training going?
Yeah, good. Listen, I'm not doing too bad, but yeah, let's see. I have another simulation on Saturday, but we will see on the D-Day. So what do you think, what is the thing that is so attracting for people to go to this fitness racing sport?
Well, you look at yourself, right? If you go to the gym, and the reasons probably you got into it, there are multiple different broad reasons, but it's a small barrier to entry. You know you can run, 7Ks. You know, 8Ks. You know you can run, you can throw a wall ball. You know you can go on a ski erg. You know you can do all these things. You can push something heavy. You can pick up something. It's all functional based movement, right? It's all stuff like you have to get up and sit down, carry the shopping from one end to the other. You know what I mean? So if you park like this is a great way to train. If you park like a K away from the shopping center,
Yes.
buy your shopping and then carry it to the car. It's a nice way to train for Hyrox, you know what I mean? If you need to push something heavy, pick something up. It's all those things that are now crossing over into a race. And what better way to do it than train with your group of friends, whether it's 10, 4, whatever, at the gym, and you're training for a goal. And I think that's the appeal, and Hyrox have done a great job of, when they first started, they started small.
Yeah.
And they went, right, cool, what have we got? This is the product. And now they're getting to a point where it's selling out. There's 13,000 people going to events across 3 days.
And it's ridiculous. It's so expensive.
$240 a ticket.
Yeah,
right?
thank you, yes.
Right, but what else do you get with that ticket?
Yeah.
What else is there? Probably not much.
Nothing.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to capture that market and go, cool, Hyrox is there, but what else can you get? All right, because you probably won't remember much about the race, to be fair. Like you'll do it.
Don't die.
You'll do it, but what you'll remember is maybe the morning of, what you ate, how you prepared, maybe who you saw on the race, and then at the end, how you finished and, oh my God, that was so hard. And what we're trying to do is capture those moments, but also, okay, let's put a music act on. Let's put a DJ on.
That's cool.
Let's give a fan zone experience where our sponsors can actually offer something back and go, right, what's in that fan zone? Oh, well, I went and saw, there's a new gym sign up, or I tried this new product, or, there was this nutrition bar, or I tried my first Red Bull, whatever it may be. That's what we're trying to double down on and understand. For you $240 or whatever, what do you get out of that other than the race?
So it's not only a competition, it's an experience, an entertainment 100%. That you want to create.
Yeah, so we're moving into sports entertainment. Like we are at first giving the competitor and the athlete who probably wouldn't otherwise be like an Olympian or whatever, but trained to be an athlete, that weekend warrior. But then also, what's the experience that they're taking away? We're about to do an event on the Gold Coast at the end of May, and it's on the beach. There's going to be beers, there's going to be music, there's going to be food, there's going to be all these cool activations. People are going to remember that, and they're going to remember seeing, okay, well, I competed, but also I got to hang out with some really cool people, and I made some new friends. Or that's what we want to try and sort of emulate.
Yes, fair enough. I think there is definitely something to do in that space. I'm not here to compare with Hyrox, but the ticket is so expensive. There is not much happening. They charge you $85 for a jumper. That is very bad quality, and I'm not going to make friends here. But this is the truth. I was very shocked, actually. Like, I was so excited, and then when I paid, and then you pay $80 more for the photos. And like an idiot, I decided, because I do the single on Sunday, and I wanted to help out, so I decided to do a relay on Friday, but I thought that the price would be split by 4 because we are 4 in the team. It's not. It's exactly the same price for a single one.
So just talk about that for a second then. What made you want to keep going and do that? Do you know, what was the driver?
To do the relay?
Yeah, or both. Just to go and do Hyrox.
Well, I'm doing F45 for many years. I saw a few, I think there were 3. We went to Perth last year. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to give it a try. And as soon as Sydney was, like, the date came in, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the single on Sunday.
Yep.
And for the relay, they were looking for someone else. And I'm like, oh, it's like 1K running and just one station. I'm like, I can do it. And at least I will know how it works because it's so big. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. Yeah.
it's the fear of missing out too.
Yeah, definitely.
There's that element that
Definitely.
they've built a brand,
Yes,
and
definitely.
we want to be that, but we also want to, I'm not going to say we're competing. We have a different product.
Yeah.
If anything, we want to collaborate down the future, and also with a CrossFit and with a, something like that, because the same athletes will come over and do what we do. Same thing when you look at an Olympic format. If the OCR is in the modern pentathlon, the athletes are there. So why don't you do something else that the athletes can actually do at that event? So LA might feature a Ninja Warrior course because all the athletes are there.
Yeah.
So it's that on that same premise. So if we want to understand, okay, what's in the market, let's educate everyone on what we do, but also if you do high rocks, hey, you can come over and still play with us.
Yes.
You might get more value out of your dollar and you might do something a little bit different. So yeah, it's interesting to hear. You're now doing the relay, you're doing all this other stuff, but that's hard too. When you grow and you get scale, it's hard to keep that, that first couple of years of, this is really cool and I want to do it. How do you keep that consistent? I think that's the hard bit too.
Yeah. So you will be challenged with that.
Yes, it's all in front of us.
So you've worn many hats, athlete, coach, founder, fitness director. How your identity has evolved with your different hats, and what lesson did you learn along the way?
Oh yeah, I've worn so many hats. If I go back to, when I was running my gym with two of my business partners, and you open up a gym and you think, I'm going to train every day with my mates. That's kind of the premise around it. We were so wrong about that. You get to a point where you've got to be that person who's, what you're doing is kind of paving the way to go, okay, you're a coach, you've got to be seen as fit, you've got to be seen as active, you've got to be seen as a bit of a mentor, a bit of a role model. That was 10 years ago. My body was in shape, or more than 20 years ago, right? I'm at the point now where I've learned from that stuff. I don't need to go out there and be the role model in fitness anymore. I can start to shape that into what I'm going to do in business. So the stuff I've learned, failed in business, from doing accounting or doing marketing and getting the right people on board, or interviewing someone, or making sure that your communication is probably different across a whole broad of different staff members, understanding those processes I'm using now in this role. And back then as well, when I had the gym and when I had a few different things going on, I had to wear 3 or 4 different hats for income, because you don't get a lot of money out of one gym. You get a lot of money out of 10.
Yeah.
But then you've got to do your own personal branding. Okay, what was our social media presence? How could I go out to brands and utilize myself to actually get paid to do that stuff? I was starting to do that a lot more. And then you start to do different corporate functions. And so there was a few different things I was doing just to get income.
Yes.
And that was the main purpose of that. But now I'm at a point where I'm like heart and soul in this business, and I'm, running the business, but it doesn't mean I don't wear different hats. It means that I'm just under one banner now. I don't have to go out there and do the social media stuff or do the stuff with other brands to get money in the door. I'm at a point now where I'm not saying I'm comfortable, but once you focus on one thing and double down on that, the results start to come back a little bit further. So,
but first you have to put yourself out there.
Correct. Yeah, and it's challenging. Like it's hard. Like,
tell me about it.
Yeah, you probably got this like similar story, right? You get to a point where, especially in business, it's when you start to wear 4 or 5 different hats. You go, right, okay, what am I doing today? What's that? Cool. And then you got to kind of switch gears. I used to have, and it was so funny, in the back of my car when I had the gym, I'd have a suit in the back, I'd have a set of casual clothes, I'd have 3 sets of training gear, because at any one time I'd be going to the gym to do a PT, I'd train, then I'd be going to an event, and the event I'd have to be in a suit, and then at the end, and then I'd go to a casual function at the end of the day. So you'd be getting changed 4 or 5 different times.
4 personalities in one day.
Correct, but you kind of had to do it. I'm glad I'm not doing that anymore.
Yes, yeah. So you have been able now to delegate or to find the right people?
The challenge at the moment is finding the right people in the business. We're fortunate enough that we've gone out there and got agencies involved on operational marketing side, media buying. It's been great because we've got a collective group of people from 3 different business sets that are forming our team. But now it's getting to the point, okay, what do we do from internal resourcing? That's what we need to find, because we are growing so rapidly. And we need that flexibility to have someone, you know, not 24/7, but someone that's kind of under our banner. But it's great. It's a challenge. It's a welcome challenge. I'll put it that way.
So you often talked about falling fast. Can you tell me more about this concept?
Failing fast?
Yeah, sorry, falling fast.
Yeah, falling fast. I was like,
Yeah.
I've skydived a couple of times. That's probably the language barrier.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Failing fast. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely that's at this point in time with business, especially at the early days of the gym, when your outgoings aren't as big, and when you've got, like, you know, you've got a bit of rent paying and all this sort of stuff, but you can afford to fail really fast. It's when you get bigger and bigger and bigger and you fail, the implications, you know, 10x, right?
So if you fail fast, I guess you jump back up there quickly as well.
Well, the impact's not as harsh. You know what I mean? Like when you've got, so say you've got a business and there's 3 or 4 staff and you do something, it impacts the 3 or 4. Yes, it's bad, but it's not huge. When you've got 50 staff and your events sometimes grow to, let's talk about an event lens, you know, it might cost you X to do an event at the very start because you're just doing it as a test and a trial. They're the chances where you do make the mistakes and you can go, oh, well, let's try that. If that doesn't work, it's not going to impact us too much. When you get 5 years down the track and you go, oh, let's try that. Well, that's going to set us back $1 million. You know what I mean? That starts to, and that's my theory around failing fast. Now I've got an opportunity now in this business where we can fail, and we are, don't get me wrong, where there's we had an event in Penrith, event in Melbourne. We learnt big time about that, just about setting up and all sorts of stuff. We've got an event at the end of this month, which I'm sure stuff's not going to go right. And that will then turn into another big event in Dreamworld in August. So we're trying to learn from this event to take into the learnings for that next event. So yeah, I really welcome that analogy or that theory of failing fast, because for me, if I'm not taking a risk and not trialing it now, I don't want to do that when there's more people. Now, it's not just my job on the line, it's all our staff that are involved in the business, it's all the agencies. There's a lot of implications there. So
fair enough. Now let's talk a bit about purpose and impact. Can you tell me more about Let's Get Going?
Yes. Yeah, so when I was explaining before about my mum being a teacher, so my mum taught at a school called Chalmers Road. So Chalmers Road was in the back of Strathfield. And it was a school for kids with disabilities. And a whole range of disabilities, mostly intellectual disabilities. And I'd go to school with her. And this was when I was quite young. I'd get my hair pulled, I'd get stuff thrown at me, I'd get whatever. And I think I liken a lot of my patience to being around my mum, because a lot of patience and, you know, just being polite and just waiting, and that's what I get from my mum. My dad's definitely not patient, but that's okay. But Let's Get Going was all those kids that my mum taught when I was young. When I had the gym, which was 10 years ago, we were walking down the street one day and my mum ran into one of her past students, and he was 35 at the time. Like, okay, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? And normally in a family that's got disability, if the participant that's got any sort of disability, generally the parents are quite elderly or old and they can't actually take care of them. And I was like, okay, well, this sparked an idea. And I said to Mum, why don't we invite, some of the guys down and just do some basic stuff in the gym. So if you fall over, how do you get yourself back up off the floor? If you need to pick something up, and just general fitness, because they haven't gone through the stages of what's healthy, and it's kind of pushed to the side a little bit. So that started, the charity's been going for nearly 10 years now. We started to bring a group of guys together, participants together once a week for an hour. And now it's turned into, I think there's 20 or 30 participants that still meet up every week, and Mum does all different stuff with them, whether they might be drumming or music, and then there's fitness. They're actually training a touch football, but rugby, which will be played before a shoot shield match. So they're getting all like pumped up for that, excited for that, and they watch all the stuff on NRL. And they're doing the things and tying their shoes up, and they've got all this routine stuff. So yeah, it's a really cool way to just get people moving, help out anyone with a disability in that space. And yeah, just give them some purpose give them something to look forward to every week. Yeah.
That's very good. It sounds like your mom is a fantastic human being.
She is.
Yes.
She's lovely. Yeah, she's teaching. She still teaches now. So she teaches at MLC school as a teacher's aide there and running a kindergarten. Okay. So we used to run a kindergarten as well when I was little, but she's gone back into that. And then on the Thursday, she does Let's Get Going. And then the Friday, she takes off. Okay. So, yeah. She's not going to, that's her. She's not going to change.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really good that you did that with your mom, especially because in this industry, the fitness industry, it tends to be really ego-driven. And I find it rare to see this type of initiative. Do you think the industry, talking about that, is evolving when it comes to this?
Oh, yeah.
ego? I was with Leah Simons,
yes.
and we were talking about that.
Yeah, well, Leah actually helps mum out.
Oh!
Leah does, and I'm pretty sure she's done it the last few years, where she's gone every few months. She'll go and run Kaya for the participants.
Oh, that's amazing.
And they love it. Yeah. Like and they love Leah. Like she's
amazing.
She's amazing.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, how you can feel really vulnerable at the gym and how, the looks you can get and how you can quickly feel really out of place. Do you think there is improvement coming this way?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's definitely, and I liken it to, and this is one thing that CrossFit did really well, which is what I think a lot of gyms have taken from CrossFit, which is great. As soon as you walk into a gym, you should be greeted by everyone in that gym. You should be coming out and someone should shake your hand, and that's what we tried to instill in CSP when we had CSP. Is we also had a lot of young athletes coming through the doors, so anyone that would come in, we'd go up and introduce ourselves, and that would be a rule, a general rule, because the difference with that is if you walk in and no one says hello and everyone just sort of looks at you a bit weird, like that's sending a really cold message, and like Leah was saying, vulnerability. Then you're like, well, what am I doing? Like, why would I come here? The other side of the coin is if you come in and you suddenly get greeted by a lot of people, you go, how cool is this place? Like, I feel welcomed. I feel like I've got a bit of confidence now. I can probably go and lift a heavier weight, or I can run a bit faster, or, whatever it may be. I think when you look at fitness at the moment, it's like fashion. It's changing that fast. There's so many things happening, so many different gyms popping up, so many different, types of fitness.
So many.
When we were running the 440 a few years back, there was 400 run clubs. Now there's probably like 10,000 run clubs around the country, I would say. But that's almost another part too, is like running is such a style thing now, and you've got to have this shoe and you've got to look this way, and people are intimidated by run clubs. But what I think the 440 is still doing, and to its core and to its credit, is that doesn't matter what size, shape, whatever you look like, you turn up and run, walk, shuffle, whatever, it doesn't matter. A lot of different run clubs are doing that, but there's another element of what happened in fitness when you come in and get judged is happening in the run space now. I think everything has its day, it goes in cycles, and fitness is very interesting. Over the last 20 odd years I've been in it, is there's always something that comes back.
Yes.
Zumba's still happening. Zumba hasn't gone anywhere. That's staying there. But CrossFit has had its day. That's starting to creep back. High Rocks is kind of turning into the new CrossFit. Running is just the conduit between the whole lot. And then you've got your niche, very niche, like strength and conditioning, like 98 Gym. Those guys, they're not going to change the way they do things because it works. Yeah. And there's a certain percentage, but I think there's something for everyone in fitness, which is great.
Definitely. I've been to many gyms in my life, and honestly, I didn't find one that was not intimidating. It takes time to start making connection.
It comes back to the person running it.
Yeah.
So, and you look at like the Yard, you look at all these other places, but if you've got someone at the helm running it where they instill that into their coaches, where you come up and say hello, or you go, you come and get grouped with someone and you've automatically got a friendship.
Yes. That's
the most important thing. Yeah. Like, because you're paying your money, you want to go there, you want to have fun, you want to get fit too, but fitness getting fit is the byproduct of all that. You're going there because you want to feel like you're connected to something and belong to something.
And as you said, this is probably as well why I decided to do High Rocks, because I saw some people in the gym doing it, and I'm like, I need to do it too.
Yep.
But to come back to this, how do you stay grounded?
Yeah, well, I've got a few different methods of staying grounded. One, my mum keeps me grounded, and my dad, they always bring me back down to earth. Doesn't matter how good things are going or whatever. There's always, my partner, Helen, she gives me, like, I am a CEO at work, right? I come out there and I've got to run a team and there's, a million things I've got to do. But when I get home, I'm still doing the washing. I'm still doing the cooking. I'm still cleaning, still doing that stuff. We still help each other out, but that's important. There's a really good book out there called Legacy. I don't know if you've read it. It's about the New Zealand All Blacks.
Okay.
And there's key points in that book. And one of those points is sweep the sheds. There's a whole host of values that the All Blacks instill, but it doesn't matter what player you are. You could be the highest ranked player and get the most money. You've still got to go pick up the rubbish. You've still got to go, clean up the gym equipment, or you've still got to, everyone chips in no matter what. And I think that's really important to instill values, not just in work, but in daily life. Like at work, I'm still taking the rubbish out, although one of our directors does most of that. But there's always an element of cleaning up after yourself, making things tidy. They're really important. They're little things, but they're really important. So that's how I stay grounded.
Yes, that's good. And I think you have a good entourage as well, to keep your feet on the ground.
Definitely.
So you juggled multi-sports when you were younger and less younger, I guess. What did you learn about pressure, performance, and balance?
Great question. There was a guy that I'm going to go back to the All Blacks, Dan Carter, who played for the All Blacks, very successful football player, said one thing when I was listening to him talk one day, and he said, pressure is a privilege. And to get a situation where it's the grand final or you get nervous before you run out in front of a big crowd or playing, there's a big race and you've trained all for 6 months for it and you've got to do well, that's pressure, right? And it's a privilege to feel that because not many people get to feel that. But you do if you put the hard work in and you get yourself in a situation where you've got to work with a team, or it could be a triathlete and you've got, the whole country watching you playing sport. I always tried to be the best at what I could do in sport. And I went from playing basketball and rugby and athletics and swimming through school to playing football as high as I could get to before I got concussed and knocked out and couldn't play anymore. But I remember my first ever game with the club my dad played for. And that was Western Suburbs Magpies in rugby league. I played rugby first grade, but then I went to deferred over to rugby league. And I remember distinctly the first ever game I ran out in the jersey, and I was training really hard, and I was about 108 kilos, shaved head, big, like I was bigger. It's hard to imagine. My dad couldn't make the game, and I was even more nervous because I wanted to do him proud in front of, there's a legacy there that he built. And he's such a well-respected person in football. And I remember putting the jersey on it and I was physically shaking in the change room before I ran out for the first ever game. And it was a Campbelltown Stadium and there was a few thousand people there or whatever. And I remember going, why am I shaking? And I was so nervous, but I was absolutely loving it because I was like, you got to make your dad proud. You got to make your family proud. You've got to go out there and put in the best effort you can. I remember it to the day because I was like, I was shitting myself, to be fair. That pressure can only be found when you put the hard work into something and you put yourself in a position where, okay, this is where things are at. And you look at professional tennis players, they're going out to Wimbledon finals and stuff. You can imagine the pressure they go through. I only had a taste of it, but looking at it from that lens, that's why I did what I did. That's why I went out there and competed the way I competed. And I used that stuff when I got into, CrossFit competing, and then I went into adventure racing, running, all these different things. And I started to chase that feeling a little bit more because it's an awesome feeling, It creates discipline and creates a pathway to understand pressure.
So 2 things about what you said. Legacy. So your dad has like a huge reputation, respected. Did you start your career thinking about, I need to do as good as him?
No, I think, and to my parents' credit, they never pushed me into any sport. They sort of said, go and do what you want to do. Like I was playing basketball, I could have gone and done that really, like if I really wanted to double down on that. there's always an element where I wanted to do them proud, for sure. But yeah, it came full circle when I put the same colors as him. Like I've even got him on my arm on a tattoo, you know what I mean? Like, and my mum goes on this side soon, but there was an element where I wanted to do them proud. That was the legacy piece around that. But yeah, they never really like forced me into it, but they were definitely supportive.
Yeah, okay.
So, and what was the second question? Sorry.
So now, it's coming now.
I thought I missed it.
No, you didn't. And discipline, you talked about discipline. So you probably had this discipline really early on without realizing that you had this, champion discipline. Any advice for anyone to stay disciplined?
Yeah, it's a great question. And look, discipline is the hardest thing to keep consistent. There's two parts to it. This morning I've had a bad back for the past few days, and I trained on Monday, and I wasn't able to train on Tuesday and Wednesday. And for me mentally, that doesn't sit well with me. So what did I do in replacing that? Well, I meditated for 20 minutes and I tried to do some stretching because that's the best I could have got. This morning I got up and I went for a walk because my back's starting to feel a bit better. But it was the mindset of going, well, I had to do something. And whether it's working on this or working on my body, I knew that was enough for me for that day. And it's funny, the days where you don't want to get up, the days where you don't want to get out of bed are the days you need to do it and everyone, you nod your head because everyone has done it. Like you sit there and you go, I'll sleep in, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. And you get to a point where once that starts to happen, there's a pattern that forms.
Exactly.
And then you get to like 2-3 weeks down the track and you go, oh, I'm not really liking what I see in the mirror, and the whole idea of, you train, you want to look good naked. You want to be encouraged to get out there and do it. And not just for looks, but you want to feel good about yourself. Okay. So yeah, for me, it's, I know in the back of my mind, if I hit a snooze button, which I've done, everyone's done it, it doesn't work for me because I'm like, oh, I feel terrible.
Yeah, it's same. I have exactly the same. So I train 6 days a week and my daughter is turning 2 very soon, but she had like terrible nights at the moment, and like believe me, I sleep 3-4 hours at night, and I'm like, I don't want to go at 5:45. Like I don't. But I know that if I don't go, not only I'm going to hate myself all day long because I didn't move my ass, but then I'm going to have the shittiest day possible because I didn't train. And I don't want to go, but I know that 20 minutes after, I will be so happy to be there.
Totally. And there's a few different ways to look at that too. If you look at giving yourself, there's 440 minutes in a day.
Okay.
440 minutes. How do you give yourself 40 minutes of those, right?
Exactly.
Because how much time are you giving back to everyone else? And that's through work, that's through your kids, that's through, family, whatever, but you only get that amount of time back to yourself. And then you can go, at the end of the day, tick, I did that for me. Great, I'm a much better human. I can operate a little bit better. But if you're just giving, then, the depletion and the battery starts to go down a little bit. But when you train for yourself, you're putting stuff back in. Yes. When you meditate, you're putting stuff back in. When you eat well, you're putting things back in. So it's, you give yourself a credit check. Sometimes there's a lot of withdrawals, but not many deposits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a way I look at, discipline, and I'm certainly not perfect at it. Like there have been times, and my partner will watch this and she'll laugh because she's like pulling me back into bed and I'm like, righto, we've got to get up, and we're like, and you might get home one day and you're operating at a 20%. You need your partner to pick you up. You go, hey, I'm not feeling it today. And then the other side of the coin is you might be at 100 and partner might be at 20. You've got to give back. So there's a few different ways I can look at discipline around that.
Yeah, thank you. Good tips. So you had mentors in the past. You are as well a mentor, are you?
I unofficially. There's a lot of guys and girls that I've known through coaching and whatnot that, I can have a sounding board, and I'm by no means an expert in any case in anything, but it's always shared experiences. and understanding what you've gone through.
So did he help you in your career, in your journey?
Totally. I've still got them today.
Yeah, okay.
So a lot of the mentors sit within, finance, they sit within real estate, they sit within training still. And guys that, and girls and lawyers, I've got people that I can definitely call and have a chat, but I'm mindful as well not to call them and be like, hey, I need help. It's just checking in and going, hey, how you doing? And it's more of a check-in on them because there'll be a time where I need them help. So I want to make sure that there's an element of trust around that. But yeah, they're very important for me. Always a good sounding board if I need help with something. And also people in my business now, there's some people in there that I'm definitely getting mentored from because they've been there, they've done it. So that's a really nice thing to be going into work and feel that way.
Okay, and what's the biggest leadership lesson that you've learned?
Trust your gut.
It's the first time that someone said that, funny.
Trust your gut. Definitely in the last 6 months, it's become paramount to trust gut. And there's elements of, data that you can go back to and fall back on, which is great. Data doesn't lie, but usually your gut is right. And 99% of the time, if it doesn't feel right, then there's something that you need to just, massage that a bit and understand it.
Something is going to happen, yeah. And how do you avoid burnout? We are always like, do more, push more, keep going. How do you manage this?
Yeah, it's funny. I listened to a lot of Mark Boris's stuff, Straight Talk, and he actually put something up the other day, which I really loved. And I'm kind of in the same mindset. When you work, you double down and you're into it. When you rest, you rest. You're not checking your phone, you're not doing emails, you're literally taking the time, because when I'm in work mode now, I'm glued to that and I'm on here and I'm doing this stuff and it's great. But as soon as I walk in the door, I really try hard to phone goes down and and especially, my partner's got a young son. When he's over, there's no chance for work, because it's like, hey, do this, build this Lego, let's watch this show, let's do this. And it's 4 different things going at once, which is great. But it also forces you to really disconnect from everything else that's going on. So,
So really force yourself to disconnect when you can.
Yep, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing thing.
It's even worse with, this the phones, so notification. We really need to be really, really persistent in making the effort to try to not be distracted or always connected.
Well, throw into the mix AI into the mix too, right? So once that starts to, and we won't even, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. I've been listening to Diary of a CEO. They've been talking about, AI and artificial generated intelligence and, things that can just start happening around you, like delivery of food and stuff like that. That's auto-generated, that you don't have to do a thing about. So it's really hard. It'll be really hard to disconnect in a couple of years' time, because it's going to be so evident. And I think the best thing, and I was listening to Denzel Washington, and he was talking about just when you wake up, don't look at your phone. And even Eliud Kipchoge, the runner, said the same thing. He wakes up, he doesn't look at his phone for a couple of hours. He goes and moves, he has breakfast, he sits down and talks to someone, no phones at the table. And then at about 8 o'clock, he's on phones. So, I love that.
Yeah, I think everyone should be doing that, definitely.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's so daunting. I've done it. First thing that I took was my phone, but lucky enough, I wake up early, so I need to go to the gym first. I don't have time to.
Yep.
So it helps me a lot. But then you automatically being dragged to social media.
Yep.
And it's too early in the morning to see the perfect life of everyone else,
Correct. Well, it's hard too. When you're running, if you have music, you naturally have to get something, and it's really hard to go, I'll just hit Spotify. This other thing popped up, and on your watch, stuff pops up as a notification, and I'm like, oh man, and I try and turn all my notifications off. And even to a point where I might not even wear wearables when I go and train now. I'll just drop them. But I do love I love wearing my watch because it gives me like a really good guide on how I'm going and what's going on. So
Yeah, it's very addictive too.
yes.
So addictive. I
Yes.
can't live without it. And I'm like, what else? What else I cannot live without?
Correct.
Like
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
It's another problem.
Yep.
Let's fast forward to Olympics LA 2028.
Yep.
What would it mean for you to see YOHKA recognized at the Olympic level?
Oh, look, I don't know if we will get recognized as a brand, but what we will hopefully have will be athletes that have come through our YOHKA events that are competing in the modern pentathlon or that are competing in ninja, that are competing in Brisbane 2032. That will mean a lot for us because we've built a platform for these athletes, and there's a pro team that we're assembling that there's about 10 in there at the moment. We're probably going to open that up to a few more. But the likelihood of that as well is very fine because modern pentathlon, there's 32 athletes around the world. 2 of those come from Australia. So 2 out of millions, right? But that would be great. If we got recognised as through our athlete lenses, maybe there's an element of us helping facilitate the setup of the courses and stuff like that. That might even come to shape. But yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Just getting your name, the name out there.
Or even just being there.
Yeah.
Like being there and being around it and being in that mix. I think, like you said, if you're there and the conversations you have with people are priceless.
Yeah.
Like that's really cool.
And what legacy do you hope YOHKA leaves behind or will leave behind?
Yeah, the legacy is a platform for training facilities around the country. It's elevating the sport of OCR and ninja and parkour to come into the population of Australia. Because at the moment it's kind of there, but it's not there. Like in Sydney, you got 26 sporting teams you're competing with. You know what I mean? So, and across all different codes. So if we can come away with YOHKA becoming a household name and go, yeah, I know what that is. It's Ninja Warrior, but it's YOHKA. Like that's what that is. That would be amazing. I think, turning into a household name is definitely where we're angling.
Okay. It's all what I wish for you and YOHKA. 2 more questions.
Yeah.
Who inspires you today and how do they impact you or your life?
Who inspires me today? I get inspired by probably my partner, Helen, and my parents. And there's 2 parts to that. I look at the work ethic. My partner, she works for Red Bull, but she has a stall at the markets on the weekend. She's a mum. There's a whole host of things which I respect, and that's amazing. So I get inspired by that. I get inspired by my parents too, because my parents are still together. They love each other so much. My dad is retired, but he's just got back into the football mix. My mum still teaches, keeps her structure. I think the best part about them is they put so much like shit on each other. Like they pay each other out, but you only do that when you love someone so much, right? But they also come back and you can see the unity of that.
One more question. Someone listening right now and feel stuck emotionally, mentally, physically, what will be the first step to get out of this situation?
Yeah, well, the first step is understanding that you're stuck. That's the first thing is, if you are stuck emotionally, physically, and you have nowhere else to go, is going, well, okay, I now know the position I'm in, but the next step is you need to call someone and check in with someone that you trust that can help you. And if there's no one there, then there's so many different places you can actually go and do that. There's Lifeline, there's, Are You Okay? There's a whole heap of different resources. But yeah, there's a lot of elements of people, or actually there's a lot of people out there probably thinking the same way and going, oh, my job's not going so well, or my relationship's failing, or I can't get fit. And so if you start to understand that first and foremost, and then do some research, and then go and actually make that next plunge, because what's on the other side of that is a pathway to a better headspace, mentally, physically getting into better shape, talking to someone about it. The big thing there is communication. So if you're stuck, you've got to communicate that.
Thank you, Todd. So some takeaways from this episode: trust your gut always, follow your instinct, and use the data to improve. Read the book Legacy, and it will give you so many insights on how you have to stay grounded despite everything happening around you. If you are feeling stuck right now, try to understand where it's coming from and work on this. And finally, go try out YOHKA, this new fitness sport, or watch this space. I'm sure it's going to grow, and in a few years, I will be very happy to say, hey, I had an interview with the CEO of YOHKA. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.